Hello, people, and welcome to another episode of Jesus and Coffee. I'm Todd, and I am going to talk to you about something that's very personal to me because it is me. What do you think about that? I've never actually told you my story on Jesus and Coffee, and I think it's kind of important to do. We've been talking about it at church, and we went through a rooted study with a group and talked about giving your testimony. And so I am going to give my testimony on Jesus and Coffee, and I'm going to call it testimonificationalism. That's the word for this week. Testimonificationalism. So let's do it. Hi, this is Todd. I do stuff, and sometimes I record it. This is another episode of Jesus and Coffee. Enjoy. Coffee. So, testimonificationalism. Well, we recently went through the rooted study at our church. We're in a small group. It's rooted. It gets you rooted within a group of people, and it gets very personal. And one of the weeks was giving your testimony. And I've given my testimony before to people, and it's kind of a boring testimony. I always thought of it as a boring testimony. Like, it's nothing exciting. But when I went ahead and I gave my testimony in our small group, it kind of was a little bit of revelation, both for Tammy and I, my wife and I, that our testimonies aren't boring. They're just our testimony. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you my story. I was born in the church, not literally in a church, but basically born in the church. So my parents were singers. They met singing in a band in college, in a group in college called Continental Singers, and then the Act One Company. And so they were singers at church, and my grandpa was the music pastor. So we were at church all the time, and we would go to other churches on the weekends, and we were very entrenched at church, and it was usually music based. And I was at Sunday school every Sunday and learning the stuff and hearing the stories and really being at church a lot, which gave me a very good base. I went to a Christian elementary school. I went to all of the extracurricular activities that happened at church, and those were just part of life. So early on, I believe I was 5, could be wrong, but I believe I was 5, and I was in the kitchen it was like a Saturday afternoon, and I was eating a blueberry bagel. Why do I remember that? I don't know, but I remember that. I was eating a blueberry bagel in the kitchen, and I was slouched down against the drawers behind me, and for some reason I was looking at the blueberry bagel, and I remembered some of the things that were talked about in Sunday school. I said, Jesus, I want you to come into my heart and live in there forever, and I want to be a Christian. Please forgive me of my sins. And I became a Christian in all sense of the word. Everything that I have learned and knew up to that point, I asked Jesus to be in my heart. And I do truly believe, especially because I remember a blueberry bagel. That's so weird. But I remember doing that, and I remember meaning it. And ever since then, I've considered myself a Christian. And in most senses of being a Christian, I've followed that. So I became a Christian at 5, still going to Sunday school, hearing all the stories, doing all the Bible Christian church stuff. And my parents were in the praise band, and then I began playing instruments. And then I was 9 years old, and my parents got divorced. I was still in a Christian school, still going to church every Sunday, but my parents got divorced when I was 9 years old, and that kind of messed me up a little bit. I was angry. I didn't like it, but I didn't talk about it. I was fine. I was like, my parents would ask me, "Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it?" I'd be like, "No, I'm fine. Whatever. Where's the baseball? Where's the football? Where's the soccer ball?" I kept myself busy. I didn't talk about it, didn't think about it. But I was angry. I wasn't happy about it. But we continued to go to church. I went to church with Dad on one weekend and church with Mom on another weekend to a different church. But I continued in the church and heard all the Sunday school stories. In 6th grade, I left the Christian private school, and went to a public school. And that's where I got a little more, not that I didn't see and hear things at my private school, but that's when I really got into more worldly things and seeing what was going on. I was in 6th grade at a birthday party for one of my friends, and that was the first time I saw weed, and beer, and that was kind of a little bit surreal. I didn't really know what was going on, but I was there in a bathroom with my friends, and they were doing drugs and drinking beer. I didn't touch the stuff. Nobody was there stopping me. Nobody was there saying, hey, you shouldn't do that. But I just didn't do it. And I don't really know specifically why. I just didn't do it. Looking back now, I think I'm kind of crazy anyways. And so I didn't need any extra steps of craziness in all of whatever I was doing. So maybe I knew that I didn't want, I don't know, but I didn't do it. And that was just kind of weird. My parents had got divorced. I changed schools, and I'm in a situation where I could just kind of go off the handle. And I didn't. And I really, honestly, I really don't know why, but I didn't. And so then life goes on, and I continue playing sports, and I played the drums in junior high, and I played in the praise band at church, and I played baseball and football, and I was all with athletes and hanging out with a bunch of different types of people, and got exposed to lots of different kinds of attitudes and words and lifestyles. Yet I never really strayed from my Christian beliefs, from my moral compass. I mean, I made mistakes here and there from, I had normal kid stuff, but I never went over the edge that I could have gone. And I continued to go to church, and I was involved in church, and I was involved in basically being a Christian ever since then, and continued through after my parents were divorced and all that stuff. And it was just kind of what I did, and towed the line. And I still don't really understand why, but it was something internally that just made sense to me. And so I kept going, and I'm playing football, and I'm around locker room talk, and all that culture of being cool and partying on the weekends. And I continued to hang out with all my friends, but I never really did that. I was the crazy funny guy, and everybody seemed to enjoy me. I got invited to stuff, but I never drank, I never smoked, I never did any of that stuff. And I really don't know why. It just was something that naturally I just chose not to do it. And so went through high school, met Tammy at 16. She was 15, and we dated for, since then till now. So it's been 19 years now. And we were together a lot, and we hung out with a lot of different people and a lot of different scenarios. And one of the things that I'm really, I used to be scared to say that I was proud of this, but I'm really proud to say that we were virgins all the way until we got married at 21 and 20. And that was a rarity, I think, now looking back, talking about that with our friends. And that was something that I wasn't embarrassed to talk about before. It was something I felt like, well, if I say that we waited until we were married, how's it going to make other people feel, or how's that going to be perceived? And so I didn't really talk about that much. But then when we were giving our testimonies in Rooted, the feedback that we got from our group is that it was an encouragement. It wasn't, they didn't feel demeaned, or that we were talking down to them, or that we looked differently on them, because we didn't. We love everybody in our group. My wife and I we love people in general. And it was very eye-opening for us to get that feedback, that it was encouraging to see that, it's possible. We made mistakes. I don't want to make it sound like we're perfect, but to not go down the path that so many people go down, where they have to hit rock bottom, and then they all of a sudden have this revelation, and their life is changed. But yeah, I always thought my testimony was just a boring testimony, but really it's from that feedback that we got from sharing it with our group, that it was an encouragement to say that it's possible, especially those of us who have kids, to say, we have 3 kids, and we would love for our kids' testimony to be boring, to be something that it's not an exciting testimony. It's not, oh yeah, well, hey, I was living on the street, and then all of a sudden I had a revelation, and now I'm saved, and now I'm doing God's work. I'd love for our kids to not do that. I think most people would feel that way too. And I think the biggest difference, if I really think about why was I able to continue in making the choices that I did and following the path that I did. Again, not that it was perfect, and I make mistakes, and I'm a sinner just as much as anybody else. But I think the reason that was different for me is it wasn't a head thing as much as it was a heart thing. Like, I've got a lot of friends, not a lot of friends. I have some friends that we grew up with in church, and they were on fire, and they knew scripture, and they were quoting stuff, and they were evangelizing, and I wasn't evangelizing like they were, and I wasn't outwardly spoken like they were. But now they're not outwardly spoken, and some of them are questioning their faith, and that's just where they're at from where they were. And I've never gone off that path, but I never had the head knowledge like I had the heart and passion for it. But yeah, so became a Christian when I was 5. Parents got divorced when I was 9. Went through high school and college. Went to college on a football scholarship, so I was around partying all the time, away from my then girlfriend, then fiance, and still stayed pure, and we were able to make it through. And it was only by the grace of God that we were able to do any of that. And I think that's a true testament to what God can do for you in your life if you really give it over to him. And then from there, we got married at 21 and 20, and we got 3 kids, and we still go to church, and we still serve in church, and we love serving in church, and love playing music, and love teaching kids, and now starting to get in the world of actually speaking out on our faith is a really, really cool thing. And we've been, I think, super happy ever since. Tammy seems to be happy too. But all right, well, that's it. That's the testimony. Thanks for listening. Hope this was encouraging to you. And I'd actually love to see if there's anybody else that wants to give their testimony on Jesus and Coffee. So you come on, talk with me, and give your testimony, and we can talk about it and cry about it and be angry about it. Whatever. I think it'd be good. I like that idea. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And hopefully you were blessed by this, and God's going to use it in some way. I have no idea what or how it's going to be used, but hopefully it is. All right, guys. Drink up and be blessed. See you next time. This has been Jesus and Coffee. Remember to subscribe on YouTube at Todd Does Stuff, Periscope at T Fraser SoCal, and the Phrasecast on iTunes. See you next time. Anything else? All right. Next time.